Hey, Jay, did you hear that the Washington Redskins, in order to not have all of this, to stop offending so many people around America, have decided to change their name? They did. They're now just going to be known as the Redskins.
Welcome to Dead Reckoning. I'm Jay Friesen.
I'm Brian Mattson.
And we've got a good show for you this week. We have the phenomenal Hadley Heath.
Yeah, great interview. Hadley is going to tell all you young women around across the fruited plain how you can guarantee not to have a life living in poverty. That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. And on Dad Life today, we take it to the dramatic streets. We've got a
little old timey radio drama. Reminds me of that great Frasier episode, where Frasier gets to do the old early radio drama, Nightmare Inn. One of the greatest episodes of Frasier you'll ever see.
You like Frasier a lot.
This is my favorite, greatest show, greatest TV sitcom ever.
And then on the Spindle today, we're going to do a little more ranting about the government.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about a cute little old lady at our church.
Okay.
And I have no idea what happens.
We'll see.
We put about 16 seconds into planning this.
Yeah, we do not script this show, ladies and gentlemen. And,
Dad Life is scripted. Literally scripted. I wrote the script for it.
That is scripted. But what I'm saying is, do not try this at home. Do not try this at home, because we are the professionals here. We make this up as we go along. Look at that head bob. That's kind of mesmerizing, actually, when you do that, like on the camera. I think people are going to be hypnotized. They're not going to be hypnotized by my voice. They're going to be hypnotized by your cranium.
What's the point of Dead Reckoning?
Well, this is the Spindle portion of our show, so welcome to the Spindle. This is a portion of the show where Jay and I take a look at current events, things going on in society and culture, and we do so through the lens of our Christian faith. So thanks so much for joining us. So, awesome. You got anything you want to talk about on your Spindle?
Yeah, let's start with what,
more government shutdown news?
No. Let's start with natural disasters.
Okay, natural disasters are always fun.
Why do you suppose people hate natural disasters? And if you happen to have heard about it, there has been a major natural disaster. A wild blizzard has killed every single cow crop in the Dakotas. It's been horrible.
All the cows in the Dakotas are dead.
Are dead, yeah.
It's amazing that nobody's heard of that.
Well, it's been overshadowed by the government shutdown.
And whether or not the Washington Redskins need to change their name. I mean, we got to talk about really important things in our culture. I was actually
wondering the other day when that would actually happen.
Well, apparently the owner says it's never going to happen. But my point with the joke, obviously, is that Washington is in much more disrepute right now than the name Redskins.
I know. So, anyway, back to the blizzard. This has actually had a huge effect. A lot of farmers have been put out completely from being able to even do anything about it. They can't make their living for the year.
Right.
Their herds have been completely decimated. Thousands and tens of thousands of cattle are just completely decimated because of a blizzard. They all just froze to death. So, but here's the thing. Molly, my wife and I were talking about this yesterday. When it comes to natural disasters, we don't like them. We have problems with them because it reminds us that we're not in control. As much as we try to say, well, we can have the government help us, or we can have, or we can control our own destinies, or we can go out and have sex with whoever we want because we got contraception. We're good there. But you know what? It's all control. All of a sudden, a natural disaster hits. It's like, how do I stop this?
The great C.S. Lewis, the British Christian writer, talked about suffering that way, that this is God's megaphone to wake up a sleeping world. You're exactly right. It reminds us that we are not gods, that we are helpless, we're dependent creatures. I'm reminded by a great observation by the late 19th century theologian Herman Bavinck, not to get all geeky on you, but he
says
he
the
made
Herman Bavinck expert in the world.
Well, yeah, I'm part of a small club of Herman Bavinck specialists. But anyway, he made an interesting observation that it's funny how if you look at the modern man, or even ancient man, on the one hand, we love to champion how powerful we are, that we are dominating nature. We understand the laws of nature and how it works, and we lord it over nature. And then the next minute, we're terrified of it. It scares us and smacks us upside the head. I think of that great movie, The Perfect Storm, George Clooney, right? Oh, I'm going to destroy this storm. I'm going to beat it. And the whole thing is storm winds. Storm winds. You die. You're a dependent, helpless creature. We are not autonomous. We are not gods.
As much as we want to be. So that's my spindle item.
That was it, huh?
That's my thought. Well, that's one of them. I've got another
Your
one.
thought is that we are dependent and helpless and not autonomous. So we should put our trust in God, right? Is that what you're saying? But how does that help you?
Not gonna say. I'm
How
not
does
gonna
that help
say
you
it. I'm gonna
with-
offend all the
Your cattle
atheist
crop
non-Christians
is dead.
right now.
Your cattle crop is dead. How does it help you to know to know God? So God wanted your cows dead?
Yep.
Wow. Ooh, tough. Well, I mean, you can either take that view, or you can just take, well, it's just a freak accident and weird things happen.
One of the two.
And all is meaningless.
I mean, we can go in. We really could go into a wild theology on how God is in control of all this. There is a reason for it happening. There's a reason it happened. But it's probably not what you expect, and it's probably completely unrated. You know, it's not. We're definitely not. Who's the guy that's always saying it's God punishing the world?
Oh, well, you know, Pat Robertson does that all the time.
Not that.
No, we're not going to say that.
But we're not going to go into that. If you want to know more about it, just email us at drtv Red
we can
Futon Films.
give you some
Brian
good
will give
stuff
you
and resources on the
doctorate.
problem
But it's something
of evil
that,
and suffering.
You know, it's something that you can look. I have not actually seen any public means of helping to support them. I'm sure there's something in the way of that, but nothing's come through my news feeds because it's all been overshadowed by the idiotic government, which I think is leading to your next spindle item.
Idiotic government. Yeah, Joe Carter at the Acton blog this week came out with an interesting article that I thought was, I thought it was interesting. I think a lot of people might find it very naive. He said that Christians of all stripes, whether you are on the left or the right, ought to band together and oppose the continual raising of debt ceilings in this country. Now, I thought that's interesting because there is sort of an evangelical right and an evangelical left, and there's disagreements over all sorts of policies. But Joe Carter makes an interesting argument that he says, if there's one thing the Bible teaches that we all ought to be able to agree on, it is this: debts must be paid. The profligate running up of debts you do not intend to pay, or that you intend to simply pass on to somebody else, is deeply immoral, according to the Bible. And Joe Carter writes an excellent piece just saying, hey, here's what the Bible says about debt. And he says it's true for personal debt. It is true for national debt. You cannot keep running up the credit card limit because you can't, with no tightening of the belt. No spending restraint, no increase in revenues. You're just continuing to burden a nation with debt. And Joe Carter says it's immoral. And if you're a Democrat and if you're a Republican, you ought to be able to come, and a Christian, you should be able to come together on that issue and say, you know what? No more debt ceiling increases. We've got to stop. Not unless we're going to have corresponding restraint in spending or increase in revenue. Increase in revenue is bad.
You don't have to be a Christian to believe that not all debt is good.
Right. Well, we have my point is
Some debt is good,
shared foundation.
some debt is bad.
The shared foundation that Christians share, the Bible teaches that debt that you're not serious about paying is bad.
But that's good for. It's not simply. It's that obviously that's our worldview.
Right.
But even on an economical level, that's just good for the overall health of the country.
You know why that is? It's because the Bible's true.
There's a premise.
Yeah, that's a great premise, actually.
Speaking of immorality, I'm going to
Yes.
continue with that theme. As you might have known on the news, the EBT system, our welfare, food stamp, etc. system, in the United States crashed this week. And
All sorts of
consequently-
wonderful things happened as a result, right?
Yeah, consequently, everybody, social media kind of told everybody, hey, guess what's not working right now? The EBT system. So if you have 49 cents on your EBT card, go to Wal-Mart, clear the shelves, $700-800 worth of stuff. They'll run it and get out of here.
And
Walmart
guess
refused to
what?
say no, and guess what? That's exactly
what happened.
So you have on the one hand, and this leads me to my little old lady, on the one hand you have the welfare system being completely abused by people who have no sense of morality or ethics. They're just like, hey,
Complete greed and
I
avarice.
deserve, and I'm not going to go into it deep, but
Yeah.
I deserve free stuff. You deserve to pay me free stuff, so let's roll with it. And interestingly enough, a lot of the people that the welfare system serves do actually hold to that ideal. Now, on the other hand, you have a nice little old lady at our church. Mm-hmm. Okay, she's on welfare. But she's only, she's living in assisted living. She's got Social Security coming in. It's all good. But she gets a welfare check every month as well. And our church, on top of that, helps her out with some additional resources, so that her total monthly income is about $600-700. That's it.
Wow.
But naturally, she lives in assisted living. All her stuff is taken care of. But it's enough that she can survive, and she still is able to get welfare. Well, what happened is she decided to save $5 a month on her car insurance.
Thanks, Geico.
Nope, this is not a Geico ad.
Okay.
When you pay, you pay car insurance.
Yep.
I tend to pay every 6 months because it saves me a $5 a month fee.
Sure.
Right, but that just means I have to, plan ahead. And
right, and you have to have enough cash outlay. To do it for 6 months.
Well, this little old lady decided to save $5 a month, and when you only make $600 or $700, that's legitimate.
Hey, it's something.
Drop in the bucket.
That's another
right?
$30 every 6 months, right?
Well, she did this, and welfare cut her off because they believe that if she has enough money to afford that, she shouldn't be on welfare.
Okay, and at the same time, we got a bunch of people clearing out Wal-Mart shelves,
right?
Because of the breakdown of the EBT
that's
system.
my Spindle thought for you today. How do you feel about that? So anyway, our church is stepping up to
of course,
help out and write a letter.
As churches and
try to get her back
mediating
on
institutions and civil society ought to work, local community groups of people, a church banding together to help support this woman. This reminds me, Jay, of our episode of Dead Reckoning 2 weeks ago with David Bonson. David was making the point that we have a real problem in our culture of covetousness, violations of the Ten Commandments, believing that I am entitled to my neighbor's X, Y, or Z. And here is Exhibit A. I mean, what kind of a person do you have to be to say, oh, look at that, on a technicality, the machine will run any purchase that I run on this EBT card, which is food stamp card. So let me go fill up my cart with $700-800 worth of stuff and run it, even though the money's not even there. Somebody pays for this. Somebody pays for this.
No, in this case,
we
it's
believe
Walmart.
As a culture,
raped.
Walmart. As a culture, for some reason, we have this idea that there is such a thing as a free lunch, free stuff. Listen, it is theft. It is theft. You are guilty of stealing from somebody. You are covetous and avarice. You're full of avarice, and shame on you if you have a food stamp card and the system goes down and you start to freeload even more than you already are.
I just, the contradiction between that and an innocent little old lady getting welfare. She's the one that's hammered.
Because she saved $5.
She's the one that's like paying for. It's silly.
It brings up another problem. The problem is that no government is big enough to administrate a society of 300 million people. No society, because the way government and regulation works is by the uniformity and the uniform application of laws, rules, and regulations. The problem with that kind of uniform application is that you cannot account for every possible scenario. No. So this little old lady gets shafted while other people benefit from the system.
I had another funny little irony occur to me as well. Speaking of governments and large governments, is that one, we just need to go through some laws and ditch them.
Yeah.
And two, the fact that Obama's kind of plan to shut down the government and make it hurt, and his desire to create a big government is kind of backfiring, because also this week he decided to let the state the national park system be reopened by the states as they see fit.
Yeah,
so
he was
we're
suffering.
making a smaller government.
He was
here.
suffering
State-run.
politically from this idea of barricading open air monuments.
I just thought that was kind of funny. Oh, and one more piece of Spindle news.
Okay.
The Hollywood Reporter put out a really funny, and I find this sort of thing comical. Put out a really funny article on the fact that Darren Aronofsky's Noah has received some bad reviews.
By the way, Darren Aronofsky would be a Hollywood director who is coming out with a movie on Noah. He did
Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, The Fountain. So anyway, he and Paramount are kind of butting heads right now on the film because they let him kind of have his way, and his way is not the masses' way.
Yeah.
So and the reason I bring this up is because a previous guest of ours, Brian Godawa, episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah. Brian Godawa, who's been on the show, he was quoted in that article.
In the Hollywood Reporter.
In the Hollywood Reporter article,
fantastic.
as saying that movie is probably going to be uninteresting and a complete waste of $150 million.
It's really sad.
Cracks me up. But anyway,
it is really sad.
That's all I got for the Spindle. I don't know if you have anything else.
Well, government shutdown, of course, continues now. We're weeks into this. It doesn't appear as though the parties are going to get together anytime soon and come up with anything really workable.
But in good news, our buddy John at John's Buffalo.
Yes, he got essential for.
He's 12 hours a week essential.
12 hours a week. So he's going into work. John has to put on his pants for 12 hours a week now. I hope that doesn't crimp his style at all. Good for you, John. The government makes me mad. I'm mad about this whole thing. I think that I'm mad at the Republican leadership. I think they just completely misplayed this. I mean, it would have been nice if you had a plan B, but they didn't even, no, it would have been nice if they had a plan C, but they didn't get past plan A. I think the whole thing's blowing up in their face.
But I think the whole thing's blowing up in everybody's faces.
The thing makes me want to go punk rock, man.
It does make me want to go.
It makes me want to go punk rock. I mean,
where are the
man.
Where are the bands? Where are the bands railing against the government?
Listen, I want to make an appeal right here on the Spindle to music industry executives, to rock and roll bands, to punk bands, to folk singers, songwriters, folk artists. I want to make an appeal to you. You need to vote Republican. You need to vote Republican. Why? Because you know as well as I do that the best years of your industry happen when there's a Republican in charge. Where's Green Day coming out with American Idiot? Where's Natalie, what's her face, talking F. Bush and all of that? Listen, the best years of your industry happen when there's a Republican in charge. Because you know what? I haven't seen much raging against the machine when there's a Democrat in charge. Isn't that funny? Where are all the punk rockers saying, stick it to the man? You want to tell me what kind of health care I'm going to get? Forget you. No, it's so interesting how punk rockers want to rage against the machine, and the only political party in this country interested in an all-controlling, totalitarian machine is a Democrat Party, and you're all in love with it. Explain this to me.
Had I thought through, we could have written our own. Let's write our own punk song for next week.
We're going to write a Rage Against the Machine punk song about, I've actually written one, but about the government. Anyway, I just want to say, look, musicians, Billy Joe Armstrong, Natalie Maines, you folk singers out there, you need to vote Republican because you know that your art is better when there's a Republican in charge.
True. All right, I'm Jay Friesen.
I'm Brian Manson.
And this is Dead Reckoning.